Now we're going to look at several examples of completing the square with a non-monic trinomial. To summarize the steps, the first thing that we do is regroup the x squared and x terms together as we did before, but this time we factor out the lead coefficient. Whatever it is, we factor it out from the x squared and x terms. In this case, we factor the 2, leaving x squared plus 4x plus the empty space, plus 20 minus 2 times empty space. And that second 2 over here on the right comes from the lead coefficient. It's exactly the same as the lead coefficient. Next, we complete the square. So we take half of the 4, that's 2, square it, and that's what completes the square. So complete the square and put the 4 on the outside as well. We now factor what's in the parentheses. We factor that trinomial to x plus 2 squared. So now we have 2x plus 2 squared plus 20 minus 8, and then simplified to 2x plus 2 squared plus 12. Let's take a look at another example. Here, we're going to group the first two terms. We're going to factor out the lead coefficient from the x squared and x terms. In this case, the lead coefficient is 6, so we're going to factor out 6. And we're left with x squared plus 6x plus empty space minus 2 minus 6 times empty space. We complete the square by taking half of 6 and squaring it. So half of this 6, this coefficient of x, is 3. Squared is 9, so we put the 9 here on the inside and also here on the outside. Next we factor, and we get 6x plus 3 squared minus 2 minus 54. And we simplify to 6x plus 3 squared minus 56. Here's another example for you to try. I'd like you to stop the video, go through the steps on your own, and I'll let you reproduce the steps from other examples. And after you've worked through the problem, restart the video and check your solution. Okay, so we group the x squared and x terms. We factor out the lead coefficient from the x squared and x terms and leave those empty spaces, remembering to put a 4 out here. Next, we complete the square. Half of 8 is 4. Squared is 16. And we put the 16 in both empty spaces. We factor and then simplify to 4 times x plus 4 squared minus 63. I'd like to do one more example, this time where something doesn't quite come out even. We group the x and x squared terms. We factor out the 2 and leave x squared minus 5x plus space minus 8 minus 2 times the space. We complete the square. Half of 5, or negative 5, is negative 5 halves. Squared is 25 fourths. So that's what we put in each space. And remember that the 25 fourths is positive. We factor the trinomial to x minus 5 halves squared minus 8 minus 25 halves. 25 halves is 2 times 25 fourths, so that's not a mistake. And then we simplify the numbers outside the parentheses to 41 halves. I'd like to do one more with a negative lead coefficient. And this is going to come up when we start doing problems with projectile motion. Now, as before, when we'll group the x and x squared terms, we factor out the lead coefficient, which is negative 16. We factor out negative 16, leaving x squared minus 6x plus this empty space. And then outside we have 100 minus this negative 16 times the empty space. So you have to watch for those negative signs on the negative 16 here, and that you get the signs inside the parentheses correct. Next, we complete the square, Dividing negative 6 by 2, that's negative 3. Squared is 9. So 9 is what goes into the two empty spaces. We now factor and simplify. So over here, x squared minus 6x plus 9 factors to x minus 3 squared times negative 16 plus 100. And then on the right, this minus negative 16 times 9 simplifies to plus 144. And then we simplify to negative 16 times x minus 3 squared plus 244. And this is the end of part 4 and the end of the 4 mini lessons on completing the square.